Can dogs really sniff out cancer? Okay, so we know dogs are intelligent. We also know that they have a nifty sense of smell that makes them perfect for tracking and detection, as well as sniffing out things like narcotics. But what about disease? Is it possible a dog can tell when someone's sick just by being in the same room as them? Let's find out. The idea that dogs are able to sniff out cancer has been around for a while. Although many anecdotes as well as a few studies came out beforehand, the subject was thrown further into the limelight after a BBC documentary. It turns out, in short, dogs can be trained to identify certain diseases, including cancer. A keen sense of smell. Although it's difficult to quantify how good a dog's sense of smell is, there are reports that suggest it's anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 times as good as ours. This is thanks to them having around 30 million smell receptors in their nose compared with our 6 million. It's also partially thanks to their wet nose. The moisture helps trap scent particles, meaning that our four-legged friends can smell even better. Not only is a dog's nose more powerful, but the part of their brain that deals with smell is larger too. A human's brain is taken up by the visual cortex, so we mainly rely on our eyes to take in the world around us. However, a dog's brain has a much bigger olfactory cortex, which is programmed to deal with smell. Their olfactory cortex is actually around 40 times bigger when compared with ours, even though they have a smaller brain overall. This is why we use our eyes on a walk, but dogs use their noses. As soon as they get outside, they put their noses down and sniff what's going on around them. Whether it's a tree, a trail, or another dog's bottom, their nose tells them exactly what's going on. But what's that got to do with cancer? Well, because a dog's sense of smell is so good, it means that he can smell small changes in the body that we would be completely unaware of. Dogs may be able to tell if someone is stressed, pregnant, or has low blood sugar by the hormones we release in our sweat. Although slightly different with cancer, a dog can smell changes that indicate disease. Cancerous cells are very different to healthy cells in the human body. For one, they release an entirely different metabolic waste. It changes the chemical traces in the body. Dogs are able to identify this chemical change, even in the early stages of cancer. Not only does a dog's heightened sense of smell make it possible to detect cancer, but it's also been proven in scientific studies that dogs seem to be trainable to actually sniff out cancer and help save lives. That's not to say every dog you meet can be trained to find cancer. Every dog breed has its own characteristics and skills, depending on why it was bred. So some dogs are more up to the challenge than others. For example, in most of these studies, researchers have used Labrador retrievers. Labradors help in a number of jobs due to their incredible sense of smell, and cancer finding is just one of them. Let's look at some of the cases. Marine, the 8-year-old black Labrador, was tested in a Japanese study during 2014. She was tasked with finding cancer in 200 stool samples and had an accuracy rating of 97%. More impressively, this is a higher accuracy than the routine fecal occult blood test, which missed around 30%. Blat, the Labrador Pit Bull Cross, was trained over the course of 6 months to sniff out cancer. Her trainer, Ingrid Ramon, would give Blat a treat every time she correctly sniffed at a box with the breath of cancer patient in it. Once she understood the reward system, her trainer gave her the option of 2 boxes. One contained the breath from a healthy person, and one had a cancer patient's. By the end of her training, Blat could identify the breath that showed signs of cancer 95% of the time. Daisy, an 8-year-old lab, first showed signs of being the perfect cancer finder when she started acting strangely towards her owner, Claire Guest. Daisy purposefully hit her owner in the breast a number of times, and on closer inspection, Guest found a lump. She went to the doctor and quickly found out she had breast cancer. Because it was found early, Claire made a full recovery and is now cancer-free. Of course, this could have been a coincidence, but since helping her owner beat cancer, Daisy has been trained to find cancer in urine samples and now works for the charity Medical Detection Dogs. In an example study on one of their road shows, Daisy was given 8 samples of urine, 1 containing cancer. On sniffing each sample, she sat down at number 5 and barked. This is the sample that contained cancer cells. She is believed to have an accuracy rating of around 76%. It may seem that dogs are the answer to finding cancer early, but there are some problems with using dogs as physicians. For one, they become bored easily, and no one can guarantee a 100% positive result. In larger, more professional studies, the figures are still impressive. Researchers from Krems University, Austria, grouped together with several institutions to put this theory to the test. They asked 122 patients to volunteer, 29 having cancer and 93 that were cancer-free. There were 6 dogs of different breeds used in the experiment, and they were trained for 6 months using around 150 samples. The researchers used a double-blind experiment to try and eliminate subjective bias. When tested, the dogs could correctly identify cancer 79% of the time. However, they were only 34% accurate on the control group, the group without cancer. This could have been from a variety of reasons. The whole test could be rather stressful for dogs and their handlers. They could become tired, etc. Although there were problems with this experiment, it doesn't take away from the fact that in all today's cases, dogs have been able to sniff out cancer with more than 75% accuracy. Although it isn't perfect, with further funding and training, it isn't too distant a dream that dogs could help doctors find early signs of cancer, thus saving lives. Not only trained dogs are able to sniff out changes in your body. If your four-legged friend starts acting strangely in your company, watch him closely to see if there's anything he's trying to point out to you. If you're unsure, see your doctor. Dogs can smell things like diabetes, Parkinson's, and stress-related illnesses, so trust his nose. Who knows? It may end up saving your life. Did you know that dogs can sniff out cancer? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to find out more about clever dogs, why don't you watch our video on most clever breeds of dog?